At the start of the movie, we're taken to an abandoned place called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It was once a successful entertainment center, but because of an unknown incident, it has been sealed off. We're then taken inside, where the guard is trying to escape an unseen entity. He desperately opens an air vent and crawls inside, but just as he's about to reach the main door, he is captured and knocked out. When he wakes up, he finds himself strapped to a chair with razor-sharp blades nearing his face. The guard pleads for help, but he is brutally finished off. Following this, we're introduced to our protagonist, Mike, a lazy and introverted guy. He works as a security guard at a shopping mall. One day, when he spots a man trying to drag a boy away, he assumes that a kidnapping is taking place. Thus, he tackles the man and starts beating him up. After the ordeal, Mike feels like a superhero, but he quickly learns that the man he just beat up is actually the boy's father. As a result of this, he is fired from his job. In the next scene, he goes to his counselor, Steve's office to look for a new job. However, the latter mentions that due to his bad rep, it would be very difficult to find one. Everyone he goes to, he always causes unnecessary commotion. Now, the only option he has is to work at Freddy's Pizzeria as a security guard. Mike is genuinely interested in the job, but when he learns that it's a night shift, he refuses. Later, he arrives home and greets his little sister, Abby. She is the reason why he refused the night shift. We also learn that during the day, a babysitter named Max takes care of her. Following this, Mike takes a sleeping tablet and falls asleep. Shortly after, he begins dreaming, which takes him back to his childhood days. He is having a picnic with his family in a serene location. Mom tells him to look after his little brother, Garrett. Unfortunately, when Mike is distracted for a split second, someone kidnaps the boy and takes him away in a car. This prompts Mike to jolt awake from his sleep. The following day, he attends a meeting with his evil aunt, Jane. Turns out the woman is battling to gain custody of Abby so that she can get government funding for her care. The mall incident has left Mike in a precarious position, as his aunt claims that he is not a suitable parent. However, the caseworker decides to give him another chance. She talks to Mike in private and tells him to find a job as soon as possible, or else Abby will be taken away. Hearing this, he immediately calls Steve and accepts the security guard position at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. That night, he leaves his sister with Max and goes to the pizzeria. As he wanders around the place, he is startled by a terrifying doll that pops up out of nowhere. However, Mike believes that it's just a robot, so he takes a sleeping pill and goes to sleep. Once again, he dreams of Garrett being kidnapped, but the scenario has slightly changed this time. He is surrounded by a group of mysterious boys. Mike asks who they are, but the boys don't answer and simply run away. As Mike tries to chase them, he trips and falls, prompting him to wake up. The next morning, he goes home and thanks the babysitter Max for her work. Turns out he hasn't paid her in months, but she is fine with it. Later, Max and her brother Jeff meet Aunt Jane at a coffee shop. This reveals that the three are conspiring together. Jane wants to find dirt on Mike to prove that he's an unstable parent. However, Max has failed to find anything so far. Since time is running out, Jeff comes up with a plan of his own. He says that he will break into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and destroy it completely. This will lead to Mike being fired, which in turn will prompt him to lose custody of Abby. That night at work, Mike once again takes a sleeping pill and goes to sleep. This time, he manages to catch one of the boys, and he demands to know who they are. However, the boy suddenly scratches his hand with a pirate hook, which causes him to awaken from his dream. After a while, he hears someone at the door. On checking, he finds a local cop named Vanessa outside. She notices a wound on his hand and asks about it. Mike is taken aback to learn that the wound from his dream has somehow transferred to real life. Following this, the two begin talking, and Vanessa says that this place is very close to her heart. During her childhood days, she used to visit Freddy Fazbear's Pizza very often. However, after 5 kids suddenly went missing, the place was shut down. After this, she takes Mike to the entertainment room and turns on the power. Because of this, several robotic dolls, which look like humans, come to life and start dancing. Mike is a bit freaked out by them, but he doesn't say anything at the moment. In the morning, the two leave for home. Taking advantage of this, Jeff and his goons enter the control room and begin wreaking havoc. Suddenly, the animatronics come to life and start killing the goons one by one. Jeff tries to run away, but he is also caught and brutally murdered. An hour passes, and when they do not return, Max decides to look for them. As she ventures inside, she meets one of the animatronics named Freddy. He appears to be talking like a child. Curious, Max decides to take a better look at him, but Freddy suddenly comes to life and finishes her off. Later, as Mike is relaxing at home, Vanessa arrives outside and informs him of the break-in. She brings out a bottle of sleeping pills and inquires why he takes them. In response, Mike decides to share the entire truth with her. He reveals that several years ago, his brother Garrett was abducted by an unknown man. His parents also died soon after in a car accident. This forced him to take care of his younger sister, Abby. Although Mike has somewhat healed from the trauma, he is still desperate to find the kidnapper. So every night, he takes the sleeping pills and dreams about that fateful day in hopes of finding any important clues. Mike claims that his recent dreams at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza have been more detailed and he's getting closer. Hearing all this, Vanessa realizes that he's innocent, so she leaves him alone. The scene then cuts to the night where Mike desperately tries to reach out to Max. When she doesn't answer, he is forced to take Abby along with her. After he puts her to sleep, he takes his pills and once again drifts into his realm of dreams. This time, he confronts a blonde boy and inquires if they were also abducted in the 1980s. The boy replies with a yes. Mike then asks who the kidnapper is, and in response, the boy points to an eerie-looking drawing on the ground that resembles a rabbit. Suddenly, Mike jolts awake to his sister's screams. When he rushes to that room, he sees the animatronics playing with her. Turns out they were just tickling her, which caused her to scream. Although the act is harmless, Mike is freaked out, so he immediately takes Abby away from there. Upon arriving home, he checks his sister's drawing and gets horrified to learn that they are all about those animatronics. He also finds one about Garrett, which shocks him because Abby wasn't even born when the abduction took place. When he asks her about it, Abby says that the blonde boy told her about him. Hearing this, Mike realizes that his sister is the key to finding the kidnapper, so he decides to take her to the pizzeria again. In the next scene, they arrive at the place and find Vanessa already there. At first, she scolds him for bringing his sister, but then she calms down and reveals that these animatronics have been possessed by the souls of the kidnapped children. Just then, the robots come to life and they all start playing. The next evening, Mike decides to go alone. With no one to call for help, he leaves Abby in the care of Aunt Jane. He takes more pills than usual and goes to sleep. This time, he has a different dream where his entire family, including Garrett, is having dinner together. Just then, the blonde boy shows up and offers Mike a deal. He will give him Garrett, but in return, Mike has to give up on his sister. This leaves our hero in a very difficult situation, as he loves both of his siblings very dearly. But in the end, he opts for his sister, as he has a very close bond with her. Hearing the decision, the kids get angry and start beating him up. Suddenly, Mike wakes up from his dream and finds himself strapped to a chair. A deadly device is slowly approaching his face to kill him. Mike somehow manages to break free and switches off the machine, but he isn't able to get very far, as one of the animatronics catches up to him and knocks him unconscious. Meanwhile, Jane is watching TV at home, and we notice that Freddy has also arrived there. The blonde boy then approaches her and invites her to play with them. He claims that her aunt is sleeping, but in reality, they have killed her. Unfortunately, Abby agrees to go with him, so they board a taxi and head toward the pizzeria. On the other hand, Mike regains consciousness and sees Vanessa next to him. She reveals that she saved him from those monsters and brought him here. After this, she proceeds to tell him the entire truth. She reveals that this place was owned by a man named William Afton. He was so evil that he used to wear a yellow bunny outfit and kidnap children. Garrett was one of his victims. When the police started closing in on him, he hid the corpses inside the animatronics. Their souls combined with the robots and brought them to life. However, William manipulated them into believing that he was their father. Now they follow his orders blindly. Vanessa then drops another bombshell. William is actually her dad. Hearing all this, Mike realizes that they are very dangerous, so he plans to destroy them. Vanessa gives him some tasers, saying it can incapacitate them for a while. However, she refuses to join him, saying she cannot confront her father. In the next scene, Mike goes to the pizzeria where he takes down a few animatronics by cleverly electrocuting them. He then tases the rest, allowing his sister to escape from her bondage. But as the siblings are about to leave, Freddy arrives there. He launches an attack on Mike, while revealing that he was the one who killed Garrett. Meanwhile, one of the animatronics is about to capture Abby when Vanessa shows up and rescues her. She then confronts Freddy by calling him Daddy. In response, the giant robot removes his mask, revealing himself as the job counselor Steve. It is revealed that after the pizzeria was shut down, he changed his name and started luring new recruits to this place. Horrified, Vanessa pleads with him to stop, but he refuses. When she continues to persist, he mercilessly stabs her. Meanwhile, Mike urges Abby to remind the animatronics of William's true nature. So the little girl shows them the image of William in the yellow bunny suit, murdering them all. Surprisingly, the plan works, and the robots become enraged. They immediately turn on William and brutally beat him up. On the other hand, Mike and Abby drag an injured Vanessa out of the place. The movie then cuts to a few months later, and we see that Mike and Abby are thriving in their respective lives. The little girl is going to school and she has made a lot of friends. As for Mike, he has got a new job which finally pays him well. One day, they go to the hospital to see Vanessa. She is still in a coma, but the doctors are hopeful that she will make a full recovery. In the final scene, we learn that William is still alive. He pleads with the ghost children for help, but in response, the blonde boy shuts the door on him.